Good morning, Principal Ma'am.
Good morning, ma'am.
All the students are requested to switch on your videos, please. We are going to start the webinar. All the students are requested to switch on the videos.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning, Ritu. So nice to see you.
Same here, same here. How are you guys? Good morning, India.
Good morning. Everybody is mute, ma'am.
You
A
cannot
very good
mute this
morning.
voice. This is the voice of our country. This voice cannot be muted.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, everyone. Nice to see you guys.
You will surely hear them all. It's just the standing instructions to everybody to just mute before.
Yeah.
So we'll just start the webinar, ma'am.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Can't wait.
Good morning, everybody. With a great pride, I would like to introduce our guest speaker, Ritu Shaga. She is a Canadian film producer, a co-founder of the Canadian and US-based production company Ying Yang Film Studios. Ritu is also the managing director of Ideal JC Entertainment, a film and media production company based out of Toronto. Having produced Maternal, starring Colm, Chris, Amy Beth, Megan, follows slated for release in TIFF 2021. Ritu and Ideal JC Entertainment are proud to be the producers and the executive producers for Galaxy Built on Hope, a documentary transferring the creation of the droids and the lightsaber amongst other feats, accomplished by Roger Christian. Ritu comes armed with 3 master's degrees spanning international trade, marketing, and human resource, with an unquenchable thirst for the accumulation of knowledge. Ritu is pursuing her doctoral program in strategical management in entertainment, a work experience spanning 2 decades in banking, real estate, and entertainment. Ritu has played crucial roles as National Vice President Retail Banking, CEO, and CRO for a 500-acre themed urban villa project, managing director for a movie production house, and co-founder of a film studio with a proven track of making the impossible possible. Ritu brings the much needed edge in the entertainment world with her exposure to the global financial markets and assessing the needs and the trends in the fast-paced world of entertainment, coupled with an inherent ability to find and realize the dollar value of a project idea makes Ritu a formidable force. I am so proud of Ritu. I never thought that I'm going to read such a long introduction of yours. It's so great.
You just
And
have been very generous and very kind. And I am very proud of the fact that me and Alka go back since kindergarten. So for all of you students, your Alka ma'am and me, we've like studied from nursery onwards. And till date, she is my best friend, my confidant, and somebody who will never let go of you when you're in times of need. So it's a back and forth. So if we start talking about each other, it will become a mutual admiration society and all of you will be left out of it. It, yes, was a very long introduction, but then behind that introduction is a 22 years long career. So having said that, I, for the first time, have agreed to come on a webinar that had students because now I actually feel that there is something that can be imparted. I'm looking at all of your faces and believe me, I was in your shoes at one point of time. Some of you would be bored. Some of you would not understand why we are here. Some of you would be, I really want to know how this happened. So we've all gone through that spectrum of emotion. I see Aryan Verma wearing his, yeah, now you're looking around, Aryan, wearing your headphones, and like, I don't want to miss a word. I really want to understand everything which is happening. I see Ananya, who was logged on even before anybody else was logged on. So yes, all of you people are here to take away something, and some of you are here just because you've been asked to be here. And I totally agree, sympathize with that fact, but I want to make it worth your while. I really want you guys to leave from here at least having understood something that made sense to you in your own way, because you're all different individuals and not small children who are impressionable. You are +1, +2 students, which are foundation classes. So I was talking to my husband in the morning, and I told him that I really don't have an idea what they're going to ask or what I'm going to talk. So he said a very interesting thing. He said, why don't you ask the person who is a backbencher? Because it's invariably the child who's out of the class who makes it into the army. You know, who's some people who are at the back or who ask the least questions, probably they are absorbing the most.
Exactly.
I would really appreciate if we are 100 of us or if we are 20 of us, but I would really appreciate at least one question coming from all of you, and I will try to answer it to the best of my ability.
Okay, Ritu, before we start with the question answer round, I would really like you to know a little bit about Shamrock School.
Of course.
We started in 1989, a vision to create a fantasy land, Shamrock, where a child is inspired to excel. Shamrock has crossed many milestones in its journey to reach its destination. Today, it is a collective movement of Shamrock, schools reaching out over 10 cities to give its children the passion to strive for excellence. So we have among us our principal ma'am, worthy principal ma'am, Parineet Somal, my coordinator, Seema Benipal ma'am, and other teachers who are teaching in classes 11th and 12th. I welcome you all. So we have around 2,000 students, more than 2,000 students, Ritu, in our school. We have a sports arena. And now we have started with the NEP pattern, wherein the students can merge in the subjects. Like somebody who's taking science can pick up a art subject also. So now we have started with that pattern also.
I'm so glad to hear that actually. When you talk about merging of educations, I'm actually heaving a sigh of relief, because before I say anything, I would really like to say thank you for inviting me for this, and my warm regards to Principal Ma'am, in fact, a namaste, because no matter how big we become in life or how ahead in education and academics, but we are always scared of the word principal, especially people like me. So yes, my warm regards to them. And Seema ji, very nice to see you here. I've heard a lot about you from Alka multiple times, and you guys take a lot of effort to make sure all your webinars are a big success, because I could almost see the stress going back and forth. So I was just testing my mic because I wanted to make sure that this works well, since so many students are here. So thank you so much for inviting me. And it's nice to see that Shamrock is doing exemplary work when it comes to education. I see, because like I said, me and Alka, we talk like multiple times in a day. So I see the kind of hard work you guys all put in. And believe me, this hard work pays off when you see your students making it in life. And when I say making it in life is not getting a job, that they got job placed. Making it in life is when they are armored, that even if they do not get what they aspire to get, they still do not give up. They always keep looking for those doors and windows wherein they will end up doing what they really enjoy doing, what they are destined to do, you know. And that is how my career started. So I have a varied background. I was a science student. I wanted to be a doctor, so I did my +1 +2 in medical. Then and 22, and I mean, like those decades back, in 90s, we did not have too many options. We had science because you wanted to be a doctor, and we had commerce because you wanted to be an engineer. So those were the prime fields where all parents wanted their children to be placed. They were considered to be the most high esteemed professions in our country at that point of time. And so 7 years in studying sciences, and then I went on to do my MBA, and then my dad would not let me stop at one MBA. When I finished my first MBA in marketing, he said, everybody does one MBA. You've not done something great. So why don't you go in for an additional specialization? So I said, okay, then I'll do human resources. Maybe I'll get placed somewhere and I will be hiring and firing people. And so I did human resources. And once I did that, then my dad said that you're an outgoing person. You like traveling. So why wouldn't you do something in foreign trade so that you get an opportunity to travel? So I did my master's in foreign trade. And then he comes up and says, and now because you're going to be traveling, why don't you do a German course, some additional language course? So I ended up learning German. Long story short, it was not just academics that saw me going from one line to another line, not because I did not do well in that line, because I would not accept the dead end of that line. I would feel that there is more to do. There's more you can do. And before I could feel it, it was my dad who felt it. So when I sit here in front of you, and if any of you would ever ask me that, who's the inspiration? I think till my last dying breath, my answer would be, I am what I am because of my father. It could not have been any other way, because those years and those times, everybody wanted their daughters married. They wanted her settled with kids and husband. And my dad used to say that the only thing that settles is dust. Glitter doesn't settle. So you are not dust. You are my glitter. So I'm saying this to you guys because at the age you people are, most of the times we do not recognize that voice. We rebel against that voice. We say, why are you after my life all the time for studies? You have to recognize that voice, because when that voice is not there, you miss it. And when you make it, you miss it even more. So I was fortunate that I made that voice my sounding board. So even if today I don't have my dad, I still question and I get an answer, because I always use that voice as my sounding board. And it has helped me. My career graph, which we are going to discuss in a while, will tell you that listening to that one voice always helped me. And that's the biggest blessing I've been born with. And then there are blessings that you are married into. And then there are blessings like your best friends who stand by you. So before we go any further, I want you to look out for those blessings that will tell you, how do you make it from point number 1 to point infinity? That scale.
Thank you so much, Ritu, for this insight. Now we will start with the question answer round, and I think we should start with Ananya because she was the first one to actually come in. Ananya, do you have any questions, darling?
Yes, ma'am. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
So actually, like, as you told us that you have come from a commerce background, and like you can see there's like a very big variation between like industry, you're going into production, and then banking and management. Like, what inspired you to get into like production? Because for instance, as you talked about, passion, and passion is something that leads you on. I myself have been very confused, like what thing I should go in, because I'm personally very inclined towards nature and also towards creativity. But I also wanted to know what a human mind is. So I said, let's go with psychology, even though I'm really interested in going into something like designing and stuff. So like, what was your inspiration that made you finally accept what your passion is and you started doing it?
Okay, there are 2 corrections to your question, which I'm going to make just now. One, I come from a science background and not commerce. I was really bad at mathematics. I sucked at it, And because I come from a Hindu Brahmin family, so we have a lot of predominant influence of astrologers in our family. And every astrologer would go predicting to my dad that she's going to be a banker. And we would have a laugh about it, because the bank that I bank with or work with is going to go bankrupt because I'm so bad at mathematics. So we never took it seriously. I never had any aspirations to becoming a banker till I got into my management studies. So first correction, I'm a science student through and through, and I was the topper in science. You know, I was like really good at science. That was my calling in life. And once I went to do my MBA, when you go to study in a place like Pune, now you guys are like, even Chandigarh is cosmopolitan. At that point of time, to go and study in Maharashtra, in Pune, was a very big deal. So you meet people from all walks of life, and these barriers that you have in mind, that you grow up with, that I cannot do this, or I won't do this, or I would do that, they start breaking down, because you're meeting a lot of people and you're talking a lot of careers and you're discussing a lot of options. So I was campus placed with ICICI Bank when I went into work there. But one thing which I was very clear in my mind, and I have always been very clear in my mind, is about what I want. And what I wanted even at that point of time was that nobody will make me sit in a cashier teller compartment. That is not my calling. I am not a desk person. I am an extrovert person who likes talking, meeting people, exchanging ideas. So Ananya, these are the things. Once you know these things about yourself, then your confusions, they start getting diluted. So when you say that I want to do psychology, and believe me, I am not here for career counseling. I am only taking cues from my own life so that you can take cues. So the difference in that state of mind, my state of mind at that point of time and yours, is that I was never confused. I would not mind starting out a new field with the same passion. I joined ICICI Bank with the same passion with which I today make a movie. That has not changed. So my passion is, and it's not just my passion for my work. It's my passion for my studies. It's my passion for whatever commitment I take on in life, be it anything except cooking. I have passion for everything. So having said that, you first need to make passion your backbone, that you are passionate when you take on something. And because I took to banking, I did that with style too, because I knew it that I am not going to be a cashier. I will not be a desk person. So I quickly started working towards marketing because my master's was in marketing. So I chose marketing despite the fact that women were not very gung-ho or very acceptable in marketing at that point of time. It was something that took a lot of courage to do, because it was through and through a man's field to do marketing. So I started with marketing, and then I rose to the branch head, and then to the product specialist, and then to the assistant vice president level. One thing which was always a constant was passion. That did not change. I hope I have kind of made a little sense here.
Yes, and I am, I have seen it all. I have seen your passion every time. Ananya, I would really like to add on to it. Whenever she used to speak, even in the college time, I used to look at her that from where do you get all this? And the kind of energy level she has, even if she sleeps for 4 hours, she'll be like fresh in the morning, and we'll be looking at her that what happened? She just slept for 4 hours, and like she's up on her feet. That is the main thing about Ritu that makes her where she is. That she's never tired, she never gets up. She's all the time looking for something new, exciting, and she knows what she wants from life.
For example, I'm sorry to interject, Alka. For example, I see Bikramjit here. I just saw him here. Yeah. Bikramjit is
Yes.
here on a, yeah, I see him. He's on a call over here. And so is Daksh. All of you are here, and if you are here on a call, and you know that I'm here on a call because I really, this person is intriguing me. This person is kind of making me wonder that we are not going down the rabbit hole. I was pushed down the rabbit hole too because of the system, because there were not many options. But like I said, there was some fundamentals that you do not compromise on. And that fundamental, if all of you, no matter what you do include passion as that fundamental, that I will not compromise on passion. It's 1 o'clock in the night over here. And it's an everyday story with me that I work till 4 in the morning. I work through the nights, but that does not mean that I sleep till 2 in the morning. It's because there is so much going on in my mind, because there is so much to achieve, there is so much to do, that this passion constantly keeps kicking in. So you have to inspire yourselves that where you are sitting, it's a very small view. When I was in India, it was a very small view over there too. But when you come to this part of the continent, you see so many things happening that you feel that if you're not there at the right time, this opportunity will miss me. This will just pass by me. So first and foremost, passion. Second, when you are sitting there and you say that I am the top 10 of Shamrock, believe me, you're the top 1 millionth of the world. The moment you start looking at the world as your oyster, when you start thinking that it's not just here I have to make a mark, there is some territory on the other side also, which I have never been to, and I need to make a mark there also, then you see your passion rising. Then you don't come down under pressure. Then you feel it's nothing. It's a frog's view of the well. You know, you have to have the bird's view, not the frog's view. A frog will not see beyond the four walls of the well, but the bird will see 360-degree view. It's just a matter of attitude. You have to change your perception. And believe me, this is sounding like gyan to you people just now.
No, I completely and totally agree with
Yeah,
you
but
that whatever you are thinking, you have to broaden your horizon, because life is not just this. Life is way beyond that.
just
Students, I want you to raise your hands if you have any questions. Yes, Ritu?
yeah, I
I
just want to say one thing. Just
Yes.
add your personal style to what you do. I really am going back and looking at Aryan Verma because I like the background he's set up. I like the way he's put on his headphones. It just shows, it's your own style statement. Add style, take pride in what you're doing, no matter how small you're doing. But once you have left the scene, the person should know that only this person could have done it. Try doing it today. Please take it as today's one task from this webinar. Daksh, you agree with me? Or am I boring?
Yes, ma'am.
You can never be boring, come on.
Yeah, I
Okay,
mean,
we have a question from Aryan Hasteed. He's my psychology student, one of my best students. So I'm very happy, Aryan, that this question is coming from you. Yes, Aryan, you can ask your question.
Ma'am, as you have had a very vast career of 22 years, and with such a long time, a sure thing that one gets is experience. Now, my question to you is, are there any predictable obstacles that one can face on the path?
there are always predictable obstacles are easier to handle than unpredictable obstacles. The first predictable obstacle that you always come across, Aryan, and believe me, all of you will experience this once you guys pass out. You will be experiencing this even now. The most predictable obstacle is opposition. We as humans, we always want somebody to say, yes, great, that's the way it should be done. And most of the times we do not hear that, and then we become disappointed. So the most predictable obstacle that comes in your way is when you do not get support for your idea and you drop it. That is the predictable outcome of that predictable obstacle. You are looking for affirmation. You are looking for somebody to say, yes, exactly, great, this is how it should be done. If it does not happen, then the most predictable outcome of that obstacle is that you drop it. Correct? So even when you go to work, nobody is going to come and pat you on your back that you did a great job. Most of the times it doesn't happen because the competition is cutthroat, especially in our country. It's cutthroat. We say chal bal samdam, may no matter what it takes. Don't let go of your position. So that is exactly what happens when you go out to work. So again, Ananya, this is again an answer to your question. First fundamental, passion. Second fundamental is You have to wear blinkers. Have you seen horses when they go racing? They wear blinkers. They are not allowed to look left and right because they'll get distracted. They are always looking up front. You have to wear blinkers. You have to become thick skinned, that I don't need affirmation from another person. I should know what I am doing is right. And I will go back to myself if I feel I need more motivation. That myself can also be your parent, your best friend, or whatever sounding board you have in your life. If you are blessed to have that sounding board, if you have recognized that sounding board, if you have relied on that sounding board, I was blessed. So long story short, please understand, first passion, second wearing blinkers. Do not look around for affirmations. Look at yourself. Ask yourself, I'm doing the right thing? Yes, I'm doing the right thing. So when that pat on the back does not come, you don't feel disappointed. That is the most predictable obstacle that comes. No one would be happy for your success because everybody is fighting for that success. Correct?
Basically, you are your own competition. You have to compete with
You
your
have to
own.
raise the bar. Yes, exactly.
Exactly.
You have to raise the bar. If today I feel, oh, I came here 3 years ago and I have 7 projects. I have completed 2 movies, which is a record in Hollywood. It doesn't happen like that. I bagged the most important documentary. Then I bagged a psychological thriller where Hollywood A-listers are working. And then I went to India and I've met A.R. Rahman and things like that. Then you are only stopping your own success. You have to keep raising the bar. You have to keep telling yourself, today was a great day, I did good work. And tomorrow you say, I have to better my yesterday. And these are not words, believe me guys, I live by this. See, these are not words.
So do I. I keep telling my students that, you are your own competition. You don't have to keep looking at others and think that I want to reach up till there. You should know what you want from life. That's very important.
And believe me, I came from a stream of competition. I was a science student. PMT was our holy grail. We could die on that grail. PMT, clearing that exam. Preet Soulji is smiling just now because I'm sure she has seen those times when this PMT was like, we would sleep on our books. Even a 0.5 marks less meant you have slipped 500 seats down, and you will not get DMC, you will not get CMC, you will not get AFMC, you will not get AIMS. So that 0.5 was constantly giving us palpitations. I came from that competition. But now the modus operandi, now the methodology is, as long as I am pushing the bar every day, as long as I know I have to do it better than yesterday, I don't think I need to now go to those PMT days and kill myself on that holy grail every day for a 0.5 mark.
I hope Bikramjeet is one of my student, and he said, ma'am, I have 20 to 25 questions in my mind and I want to ask ma'am. I said, I will give you a chance. First, so Bikram, I can take one question from you, and then maybe later on ma'am can actually address to all your questions. Yes, Vikram.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, Vikramjit. How are you doing?
I'm fine, ma'am. Ma'am, you have been working in banking sector for years, and now the cryptocurrency sector is also speeding up. It's giving great returns on your investments, and the banking sector is like, people have now started to understand how much they charge on loans and how much interest they actually give on your deposits. So people are leaning towards the cryptocurrency sector for better earnings. And now some cryptocurrencies like Xenon Pay have also started giving returns on the investment, 10% returns on ROI. So what do you think about the future of banking sector? Can cryptocurrency take over fiat money, or the blockchain system taking over banking sector?
No, that is not a possibility. Crypto is the digitization of money. You understand that, right? So, in fact, this is a very good thought, Alka. You should engage our managing director for ventures to have a webinar on this. If you have students who can come up with such pertinent questions, and I am really very happy that at least somebody has raised a question like this, which is creating, which talks about creating a comparison between traditional banking and digitized currency. You should invite, I will arrange for it and I can schedule it for you. You should get that webinar on too. If students are thinking in that mode, we need to do everything to propel that thinking forward. That will be a very engaging session. I'm sure of that.
Trust me, Ritu, I have not even understood the question because it's so heavy for me about this digitization and all that,
No, it's
but
very
I'm very
simple.
proud of you,
Yeah,
Vikram.
yeah. Yeah, and I'm glad that you asked that question, because the very fact that you are asking a question which is comparison of two different models means that you are at least aware of these models. See, traditional banking cannot get replaced because when I stepped into banking, nobody knew about wealth management at that point of time. Most of the malpractices in banking at that point of time used to be that they would sell wealth management, mutual fund projects, saying that they were fixed deposits, because clients were totally shut down to the idea of anything to do with stock market because it's very volatile. But gradually 20 years down the lane, now people from any walk of life can go to the bank and ask their personal banker, I have this money and I want to put it in some kind of a mutual fund, maybe an equity, maybe a debt or a balanced fund, depending on what their risk appetite is. But having said that, yes, crypto is the new age, the new digitized currency. It cannot replace traditional banking as of now. It is for the neo-tech people like us, or maybe like you, which is the new generation who doesn't want to go to the bank. But because we deal with the whole demographic of older generation, the senior most generation to the older generation, to my and Alka ma'am's generation, and to then your generations, and then to probably my son's generation. So traditional banking won't wipe out, but yes, Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, it is going to find its own place. It's already entrenched deep in roots. It will find its own place. But to do that, you have to be really aware of what you're doing, which is something that senior citizen category or the older category is not very interested in. See, at at our age, maybe we can take a chance and say, okay, let's put in 20% of my income into this. But at age, somebody who's at age 70 or 60 would say, why? I am not going to take that kind of stress. So that person has ruled out crypto. But somebody at your age would say, I get a pocket money, 1,000 every month, or say whatever your pocket money is. I'm not really aware of what pocket money children get these days, because at our point of time it used to be really very frugal. So four of us would put money together to get even fuel in our conveyances. So
I
I
don't
really
even get.
don't. So I have no idea what you guys get just now, but what say if a person like you can say, okay, half of my pocket money I want to put it in crypto. But somebody at age 70 will not do that. They'll say, it is my hard-earned money, my life's work. I'm not going to put it in crypto because I don't understand crypto. And they're not at an age where they can understand crypto. So to answer your question, you cannot totally wipe out traditional banking. But yes, like wealth management found its own place, life insurance found its own place, ULIP plans found its own place. Similarly, crypto is also finding its own place, like water finds its level. Yeah.
Thank you, Ritu. Thank you for the answer, and thank you, Vikramjit, for this kind of a question. Can you students please raise your hands? Because I know Vikram asked.
I would really want Aryan Verma to ask me a question.
Aryan Verma. Aryan Verma, do you have a question?
Well, actually, I don't have any question.
Okay,
Okay.
before the session ends, I would really want to have one question from you.
Yes, definitely.
So keep thinking about it. Students, please raise your hands. Those who
Oh,
have
Ravnoor.
questions.
There's somebody called Ravnoor here, a very pretty face. Ravnoor, any question?
You're picking up all my psychology students. Ravnoor, how are you? All good? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
So anything you want to ask, Ramnu?
Ma'am, what transition of work ethics from one continent to another?
A transition of work ethics from one continent to another. This is a very, actually, this question has been asked to me many times, multiple times, that the first question that I get asked is that, do you see any change working from India to working from Canada? That is the one question that I get. And then the second question that I get is that, is there any change in work ethics when you are working in India or when you're working in Canada? When I'm asked this question over here, it is primarily because people assume that in India, a lot of things get slided under the table. So they feel that the work ethics over there are not very strong. And in Canada, everything has to be upfront on the table. It has to be very transparent. You cannot delete information. You cannot hide information. You have to be really crystal clear about all information. But my answer, standard answer, has always been that for me, there has been no change. Because work ethics are not something that you pick up from an organization. Work ethics are something that you pick up right from your childhood in your upbringing. If you have been taught all your life to follow the right ethic, the right path. I don't come from a family wherein my parents were pujaris or they were like always in the Gurudwara or always in a church. No. I came from a normal middle class family wherein my father would pray in the morning and before his meal, in the evening before his meal. But one thing that we were always taught was you will not be unfair and dishonest. Any money that comes to your house earned through dishonesty is going to, it's like karma, you know, bad karma, it chases you. So if 4 hours of sleep is good enough for you, it's because probably you don't have lugged too much bad karma on you. You are fair to what you are doing. Okay. So my work ethic over there was also not to sell mutual funds by saying this is fixed deposit because I was lose out on a sale. I don't care. I know when I start talking, people, one thing that actually touches them is that I am speaking from my heart. And because I'm not drafting, I don't have a speech in front of me. I'm just saying what I have been doing. So in that case, you have a good standing in front of people because they respect your word, they value your word. So that work ethic from India has come in here also. If I'm sitting in a negotiation table and I'm negotiating a deal, which over here are large volume deals, then one thing before I get up from the table is to make sure that the person knows that all information was given to them, all terms were told, and they are signing on the deal because they have understood it all. Okay. So no change in work ethic. It was the same there. It is the same here. Those who have been doing unfair practices over there, for them it's a challenge here because this is over here, they are not acceptable work ethics. So for them it can be a challenge, right?
Basically, I understand Ritu, that one has to be genuine. When you are clear-hearted, progress, you always get progress. You know, God only keeps on helping you. Once you have a clear heart, and when you are doing, you know, good things for others, then definitely it comes back to you. So whatever goes around comes back only. You know, when you're doing good, you're thinking good about something, somebody, it will definitely come back to you. Okay, we have another question from
I have a question to ask over here. I see so many screens, but why is not everybody on a video? I want to see faces. Yeah, now we are
students, please switch on your video mode. Actually, I think some students have some network issue at home or something.
Okay.
So please, everybody, I would appreciate if you all please switch on your video mode. Gursahib, Vishal, Kedit, Manjot, Gursahib, Gil, Raghav, Piyush. Okay, Arman, your question, please.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, guys.
Ma'am, as Alka ma'am said, you were always energetic and ready to face challenges. So I just wanted to know some words of wisdom for the young blood, because I think your definition will be different from the others.
Good question, Arman. Actually, I have a small story to tell here. Few days back, I got connected with one of my college mates. She works in the US, and she works in Joe Biden's, the president of the US, in Joe Biden's Air Force tech team. And when she got connected with me, I was like so super impressed that, wow, she's made it so big. She's in Joe Biden's tech team, Air Force One. And I was like, I was telling her that I'm so proud of you. You've done so well in life. And I was so pleasantly surprised when I heard her turn around and say that, you know what? We were always the bookworms then, and we are the bookworms even now. The only person we saw 360-degree enjoying her college life, really living it up, was you. And we used to envy you that, how. Okay, I'm sorry, guys. Just some notifications, so my screen phased out. So she said that I don't understand how somebody who was all over the map could still do Hollywood, come here and do Hollywood. So this is why I'm telling you the background of the story is that I was a science student, but I never missed out on a single debate, on a single declamation, on a single sports match. I wanted to be everywhere. It was not because I had to prove a point. Believe me, there was no point to be proven to anybody. I had to do it all. It was like one thing was just not enough. For somebody, I heard people saying, I can barely make through this class, yaar. How do you get time to go for dance? But I wanted to do dance. I wanted to do singing. I wanted to do, I was just having a walk around and I was telling my son, do you know, I did not even know the word of the game Tennis when I was in APJ school. I did not know what Tennis sport is. But when my coach announced that we are having a Tennis match, I saw none of the girls volunteered. So I strutted it into the court and I said, I also want to play. They said, do you know how to play Tennis? I said, no, but I will learn. I want to play. And I was the only girl playing in two teams with all boys and still playing, because how could I miss out on a game? I have to play. So what I mean to say is that you don't necessarily make it big in life by going through books, by slogging through books. Like I said, when you are studying, then you are just studying. It's like Arjun and the eye of the fish. That's it. And believe me, I say the same thing to my 14-year-old son also. If what you are doing, just do that. And then you will not feel that I wish I had done that properly. Now I'm playing here and now it is haunting me that I did not do my study well. I could walk out to any court because I knew I had done my study well. I have nothing more to do in that study part now. Now is my play time. Now is my singing time, and if you try doing it for one day, believe me, if there is something you want to take away from this webinar, please just take this from this webinar. If you're studying, then just study. If you're playing, then just beat the hell out of the other person you are playing against. Even if it is the goddamn squash, just beat the wall to pulp. But whatever you do, give it your best shot. So that when you sit back, you say, boss, I had a great game here. I had a great study. I had a great meeting. This is your fundamental number 3. When you're doing something, give it all you have. So that then when you walk away from it, then you do not feel that, oh, I wish I could have done more. There was nothing more you could have done. Okay? So that is my answer, Arman, to your question. I really want that you guys just remember this one line, that give it all you have, whatever you are doing. You know, I'm sitting here in this meeting with you guys. Believe me, I'm not thinking anything else. I know after I log off, I am talking to India, I'm talking to India team, and it will go until 4 o'clock in the morning. But as of now, I am in the moment with you people because I really want to do best justice to this meeting.
So basically, that one line, I wish if I could have done that, that really kills. So never have that, I wish I could have, do it. Do it now. This is the time, and you will never get any specific beautiful time for something else. If it is, you have the opportunity, you must do it there and then.
And to the best of your ability. You
Yes.
know,
Give
and
your
with style,
100%.
and with style. That has to have your signature. When you walk away from it, one, nobody should have done it better. Two, no one could have done it like you.
Yes.
That
I
that
agree.
gives that actually gives you confidence, you know. Otherwise,
100%.
we read self-help books, we read so many books that, you know, we talk to people, we interview people, and we ask them, we listen to them, but it does not get through our system, you know. It doesn't go down to our heart and strike it there. That's why I'm telling you, you have to define your own principles. Don't take my word for it, but believe me, for one day, just use passion and give it all I have approach to whatever you're doing. Even if you're pulling the goddamn curtain away, do it in a manner that nobody else could have done it better, and no one could have done it in a style better than yours. Such a small thing, you know.
Yes. Okay. We have another question, Tahira Randhawa. And after Tahira, Aryan Verma, I am happy you have a question now. So after Tahira is your turn.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
Ma'am, can you share your views on like that education roadmap is not a linear graph always?
Yes, it is not a linear graph because mine is not a linear graph. And if you notice, most of the people who have done path breaking work, their education has not been a linear graph. I am not advocating that you should not follow a linear graph. It is very good for those who can make it in that linear graph. For example, if you have decided to become a doctor, there is a graph you need to follow. You will do your sciences, you will clear your entrance exam, you will do your MBBS, you will do your MD. You might go in and do a super specialization after that into a particular segment that you have chosen for yourself as a career. That is a linear graph, correct? That is how we have some of the top doctors in the world, top doctors in the country, because their education followed a linear graph. But those who have not made it to that point because of linear graph, it's not a dead end for them. I did not get through my through my sciences the where I wanted to go to, the stream I wanted to choose. So what did I do? I did not end up picking up a BSc and an MSc and then becoming a professor, because for me my passion ended there. So I followed my management studies, and once I did my management studies, I went and made a career for almost 22 years, 20 years in banking, real estate. And when I came in here to work in real estate, and entertainment happened. It just happened. I was the group managing director for a group that was diversified in real estate, that was diversified in ventures, and that was diversified in entertainment. I saw entertainment as the weakest puppy in the litter. I thought to myself, it needs my attention. I'm not going to hire another managing director and help them look after this project. I will do it because already so much money has gone into it. So it's not a linear graph. Nothing in my education is pointing towards my being a film producer or being in entertainment. But yes, there is one thing that heavily helped me is my business sense, because I have dealt with numbers for a long while now, and because I have managed very large teams because of my management studies. So that has helped me. But yes, my education has not been a linear graph. I told you, whenever you feel the door is getting closed, You look for the windows. You don't just stand there. That's how I say it's not a linear graph. The only thing I see linear is an ECG, which is of a dead man's when it is flat out.
Very true, very true, Ritu. We are running short of time. It's already 10:51 and I see a lot of hands. But then, Ritu, okay, Aryan, your favorite student. Aryan, after your question, we would really like to know about how it is from real to real. If you could just end up the session with that. Aryan, your question, please. Aryan Verma.
Yeah, my question is that in your childhood, you have given many tests or try to do something. In that time you fail. In that time you fail. What was your plan B? As many people say that plan B is for losers only. And is that right from your point of view? And what would your plan be?
No, I would not say RN plan B is for losers. No, that is not the terminology I would use. But I heard Will Smith also say that, the famous actor Will Smith from Men in Black. Will Smith, I heard him say that myself so many times. As long as you have plan B, your plan A will never work. It's not that the plan B is for losers. You are bound to lose out on plan A if you're constantly thinking about plan B. We will make the next plan and we will call it plan A if we don't happen to strike gold in our first plan A. Okay? You understand what I mean? If I did not get through my wanted stream of medicine, I did not make a plan B. I never had a plan B as long as I was doing that. But then I went to management and that became plan A. So what I'm saying is, as long as you have a plan B, your plan A will never work. Because you know you have plan A. See, if you have only one wish, if you have only one life jacket, if you have only one lifeboat, will you ever think of anything else except use that? No, right? So you don't need a plan B. When you are not sure of plan B, then plan A, then you start doing plan B. But when you know that it is a do or die, this is the only plan I have, there is no other plan, then that plan will work. And if it doesn't work, we will make another plan. Nobody is stopping us. Okay? Make sense?
Yes, definitely. So, Aryan, I think ma'am wants to say that you should give your best shot, as she's been saying, that give your 100% in your plan A, and I'm sure that plan A will be successful. And once, if it is not successful, we can make another plan A.
And we'll call that a plan A too. We will never
Yes.
call anything a plan B.
So
Okay?
that will be the main thing, right?
So we are not saying plan B is for losers. Plan B is not for us. We do only plan A.
Okay.
And we give it all we have. Okay?
So Vikram has 25 odd questions which is messaging me, but somehow the other we are running short of time. Vikramji, you can mail all those questions, and I'm sure the ma'am will be able to answer all those.
Of course.
Jashanpreet and Tanisha, all the students are messaging me that they have so many questions in my mind. So Ritu, last word from real to real.
Yeah, that is actually, I really liked, Seemaji, this topic of this webinar that you and Alka came up with. And because this sums up the whole thing. It was real is cinema. Cinema is a lot of dreams that you build up because you want to transport people from their real lives to a make-believe life and give them an experience wherein for a while they forget. They forget what they are going through in their real lives. So that from real to real is, it's a very delicate balance. When you are making something on cinema, as a producer, I have to keep it as real as possible, which means my budget, my locations, my time frames, my production schedules, everything. Down from my star cast to the locations where the picture is being shot. Everything is real. But what I'm making is cinema, that is real. So I am switching two roles between wearing a producer's hat. I am also looking at it from an audience's perspective, wherein the audience should be able to enjoy that experience. You can switch these two hats only if you are doing justice to both of them. So when you are a producer, you are the boss lady producer, who will not spare even a penny more on anything that she feels does not deserve a penny more. But when you are talking celluloid and when you're talking cinema, you want to add as much glitter to it. You want to make it such a fine art that whosoever goes to watch what you have made is completely transported into that segment. So I sit in production meetings and I sit with my writers and my directors and even my music composers. That is my real life, wherein I am drawn into the story. I'm flowing with their creativity. I'm a part of their creative teams. And when it comes to real, I have to keep the budgets, the schedules, and the timings, everything as real as possible. So that is how we switch. And you can switch only if you're doing justice to both the roles. If as a producer you overspend, then you rock your whole boat. If you underspend, then the quality of the product that you're making, that suffers. So you have neither done justice to that, nor you have done justice to this. So this is a very fine art of balance that we maintain. So what has helped to answer that part of this question is the experience of banking, which was very hard earned. The education, which was again very hard earned, because I was neither a donation student, I was one of the toppers in my class, the best placed students in my campus. And now when I have come to this country and I'm getting into production, there are some core values that I stand by. For example, last night I was having a Zoom meeting with a director in India who was narrating a story to me. And once I heard the story, I told him I will not put money behind this project. He was shocked. He said, I thought you liked this story. I said, I like the story. I do not like your portrayal of my country. Not all bad things happen in India. I will not put a single dollar behind any script that speaks bad of my country. So these are core values. So that's why this topic really intrigues me, from real to real. Real is as real as you can keep it, and real is as beautiful as you can make it. So I don't mix the two. When I'm sitting in that meeting, it's just creativity. I think I answered Ananya's first question about creativity, that she's a creative person. So that is creative juices flowing. But when it comes to real, the real part is no matter how much creativity, I will not put money behind any project which will downgrade my country, because by the end of the day, I am what I am because of my country also. The drill in our country, believe me, is the hardest. Education-wise, work-wise, climate-wise, competition-wise. And when we go through that drill, what comes out of that drill is solid gold. Then nobody can beat us. No one can beat us. So guys, before I sign off and we all disappear, please remember 2-3 most important things from this meeting. Passion. You do not compromise on your passion, and give it all you have, whatever you are doing. Okay? Then don't hold back, just give it. And number 3, take pride in what you have and do it with style. Don't compromise on that also.
Seriously, it was a very engaging session, Ritu. I'm so thankful to you.
Ritu, that was so well said, I've been listening to you. I didn't want to interrupt because your flow of thoughts and the children communicating with you.
Thank you, ma'am.
But I'm really, I must say, it's so refreshing to hear somebody sitting in Canada and speaking so well of their native country.
Yes.
This is what I've always felt, that somehow it's going away now with the present generation. And we need somebody like you to bring it back into the children, that we may not be here in India, but when you move out, you're carrying your values and a lot of this grilling, as you said, with you, which is standing in good stead. So really, well done, Ritu. I'm so happy to hear this from a young person.
Thank you so much.
And going to these youngsters.
Yes. It's very important to take pride in what you have. And And the last thing, which I don't know how I missed on, but I always end my sessions with that: please count your blessings in life. It's very important to count your blessings in life. We are so privileged. Your generation is so privileged. My son is so privileged. Alka's son is so privileged that they do not count their blessings. They take it for granted. But believe me, once you count your blessings, three things: you should have something to do, someone to love, and something to look forward to. If you stand by these three things, your core values, your passion, your give it all I have attitude, you cannot go wrong in life. People are running to Canada. I see so many students coming over here, working in Tim Hortons, working in Starbucks, cleaning the floors. No problems. Do that. Start from scratch if it makes you happy. But do not say anything bad about your country, because by the end of the day, you are what you are because of where you were raised. Because if you negate that, then you are neither here nor there. You are rootless. And any plant which is rootless has a very little shelf life. A banyan tree has roots which are so deep, it goes on and on for hundreds of years, doesn't die. So take pride. This is your country. Don't come and badmouth it. We are better than most of them over here. This is something I can write on a piece of paper and tell you guys. We are so much better, and we are better because of what we have gone through in our country. Academically, the drill is hard. Climate-wise, we have faced harsh conditions. We have faced competition which is totally non-existent over here. So what has made us better? Our metal has become stronger because we were put through that drill. Right? Thank you, ma'am, for your kind words. It was a pleasure being here with all the students.
Seema ma'am, our coordinator, Seema Benipal ma'am, would like to say a few
Ritu,
words.
so thank you so much, Ritu. Seema ma'am is our coordinator. She'll of course thank you. But from my end also, I would really like to. But I have a question before we close.
Sure.
Ritu, like you went there and you started. Probably our children will also want to know that how did you? I mean, did you work with someone before you started your own ventures? What was your because the young people who are moving there and they might want to take on this kind of profession. So
Yeah.
what would you advise them, like how to really begin with this? I understand all the values and other things they
Yeah.
must carry with them, but what would be a practical point to enter into this kind
I
of
would
work?
strongly suggest that when you come here, or even if you are there and you are thinking of coming here or making a career in cinema, it's very important to have some kind of a degree, because if you're trying to make a career in any field, entering a field, it's always better if you're armored with an education, with some kind of a degree, diploma in cinema or fine arts. And we have some beautiful courses over here. University of Toronto has some beautiful courses over here. Even India has a lot of beautiful courses over there. Some course, when you come armored with, you are prepared. In my case, a course or anything was not required because I had life's courses, like 22 years of work experience, and I came in as a business head. I was supposed to macro manage the project and manage the money part of it, which was something I had done day in, day out. But if you guys feel this is a field that interests you, please do proper research, join a course, even if it's a 6 months old course. And once you step in here, then or even if you're doing a course from here, then it's very easy to get into any production house or into any company that deals with cinema or even a VFX lab, and then start working from that. But a course to begin with is very important if you want to make it into cinema or art of cinema or VFX or animation or special effects. And believe me, these are the most sought after fields these days. Animation, special effects, VFX, because all our movies that are coming in, they're action thrillers. Most of our movies like Avengers, Marvel Studios, whatever they're producing. So try to get some kind of a degree or diploma before you step into this field. That will hold you in a better stead than coming in as a fresher. That makes your journey more challenging if you do not either have experience to back you up or even an allied education to back you up. That will make it difficult.
Thank you, Ritu, and we really wish you lots and lots of success.
Thank you so much.
Further, into your profession and into your personal life. Our
Thank
best wishes from Shamrock with you, dear. And it was a pleasure. And I thank Alka for introducing you to us.
Pleasure is all.
Anything Shamrock can ever do for you, we'll be more than happy.
Anything I can ever do for you, I'll be here. Whatever I'm
Thank you.
required for, anytime.
Thank you so much, Ritu.
Thank you, ma'am.
Over to Seema. Thank you.
Seema ji.
Thank you, ma'am. Good morning to one and all present here. As all good things come to an end in life, so is the webinar. But I'm sure, students, that you all have gathered lots of information today about various career options. It is such an honor for me to get the opportunity to thank our resource person, Ms. Ritu Sharda, for inspiring and encouraging the students and to us also, and to patiently answering to the endless queries of the students. A special thanks to Ms. Sohal, Principal of Shamrock School, for providing immense support to make the webinar successful. I extend my gratitude to Ms. Alka, Counselor and Educator of Psychology, to host very much needed webinar for the students of class 11th and 12th. I must thank the organizing team, volunteers for working hard to make this webinar successful. I appreciate all the students for their active participation. Dear students, your e-certificates will be available to you on SchoolPad by Tuesday. For that, you are requested to fill Google form, and the link for the same has been dropped in the chat box by Mr. Rajiv. The responses will be accepted today till 1 p.m. So I close my address with the beautiful lines written by Dr. Abdul Kalam. To succeed in life and achieve results, you must understand and master three mighty forces: desire, belief, and expectations. So with this, thank you everyone once again for making it a great success.